Welcome to Action Taken, the podcast about relevant topics for both Black and Christian communities. This is a podcast for seasoned believers, those who have hidden the Word of God in their hearts as David spoke in Psalm 119 and 11. I am your host, Coach Laverne. That's Laverne without the E on the end. This is episode Standing for Yourself. As always, the vision within must be allowed to penetrate without. The ultimate vision, the ultimate agenda for the church is to get the bride of Christ ready for her bridegroom, Jesus. There may be other faith projects you and I will have to invest our time in and in our generations. But until we see the heavens crack open and hear that trumpet sound, the vision for the body of Christ will always be to have the bride of Christ ready for a wedding and on time. We hear constantly people saying Jesus is returning, Jesus is coming, and it is true, Jesus is returning, but nothing will happen until his bride without spot or wrinkle is ready to meet him at the altar. A bridegroom on the earth will wait all day if he knows his beautiful bride will ultimately come down that narrow aisle. So, if Jesus appears to be delayed, it is because we are mistakenly expecting the bride to get ready all on her own, and that's what we do. Having said all that, it's season 1, August 9th, 2024 through May 14th, 2025. It's the season of the age of walking. As you can see from the slide, I have a picture of Crystal Mason. She is a person who is an advocate for voters' rights in this country. And she came by way of that mission, if you will, because of what happened to her. And apparently, and I may not be quoting this exactly right, but what I do understand of the story of Miss Mason is that she had a criminal past, and she thought that based on what someone had told her, she was in her right to exercise her rights as a citizen, and she voted. I don't remember what year it was, but she voted. Well, apparently she was not cleared to vote because of her criminal past. You know, when you have, I think it's if you have a felony conviction, you're not allowed to vote. And she thought she was cleared to, I guess for some, I don't know how it was, someone had told her that that was the case, but in any event, she voted. And after they reviewed her ballot later on after the election that she participated in, she was summarily arrested. And she went through some toils with her freedom because they gave her 5 years for accidentally not knowing what her rights were. She had to actually appeal the case in order to get out of jail. Now, the reason why I'm using her story is because it amplifies what I'm about to tell you. Typically, when we have a legal issue, we seek out legal representation, and that is good counsel. That is sound thinking. That is what you would normally do. That is what you should do. But ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in your life when something on the inside of you is going to direct you to proceed in a way that is not common to humankind. What do I mean by that? You're going to zig when everyone else is zagging. And when everyone else is zigging, you're going to zag. Why that is, I do not know. But there's going to come a moment where something on the inside of you is going to ignite, and it's going to say, no, this is how it's supposed to go. No one else will hear that but you. You will be seen as a lunatic. You will be seen as a fool, an idiot, a dummy. And that's okay. If you can stand the heat of the risks and the consequences, then it is okay. But as I note later in this podcast, there comes a time when you have to pay attention, when you're going to have to stand for yourself, because no one else will stand for you, or they won't stand properly for you. They will do as much as they can, but it will sometimes be insufficient for your needs. And that's hard. Because if you listen to certain people, you will get only a portion of what you should be getting in terms of justice or equity or fairness or victory. The way I saw it, and I'll tell you the story later in this podcast, but I found myself through faults of my own, not from no fault, but because of my own foolishness or my inability to rub two nickels together. I find myself in a situation of holdover eviction. I'm not proud of that situation, but it is what it is. And I've been taken down this path in a strange way because when I sought the Lord, I was thinking He was going to tell me to do thus and so. Well, what it seemed like I should do, I was being told to do something else. And each time, instinctively, I did the right thing. It just didn't make sense at the time. But I did what I believed the divine on the inside of me was telling me. When I normally would have moved, I didn't. When I normally would have backed off, I didn't. When I normally would have acquiesced to free legal counsel, I didn't. Not because there was something in me saying, I know better. It wasn't that. It was, I was allowing myself to be led this way. It appears as a bit of a fool's errand on the external. But it is my life to live. It is my life to, lack of a better word, screw up. And it is my life to learn such principles because they will be beneficial. The experience will be scary, but the experience of learning this is one you probably won't often get. But I would encourage anyone who feels that they have to go the same path. I would warn you to proceed with caution, because this path is fraught with many errors, many things that could embarrass you. So, in the case of Miss Mason, though, it's interesting because while she's in jail, she's getting 5 years for one ballot that she filled out. She gets 5 years. This is Texas. I suspect they wanted to make an example of her. While she's there, and I think she's trying to appeal it, and they don't let her out. I might not have this part right, but I think she's trying to appeal it and appeal her case. And she's still in jail. But somehow she researches something that allows her to get out on bail. The courts didn't do this for her, or didn't research this for her. Her own attorney didn't research this for her. She found this, I won't say a loophole, but this principle that helped her get to fill out a form and get out on bond, bailed out, or somehow. I don't know exactly how to phrase it, but I was hearing the story on Native Land Pod, and they said that when I saw that, my ears perked up. I was like, woo. And I remember her saying specifically, my own attorney didn't know this or didn't do this for me. I did this. And she said she had learned this through becoming a paralegal while she was in jail, which is a smart thing. If you're going to be in jail for a certain amount of time, make good use of your time. And that's what she did. And it helped her. It created a whole new career for her, because after she got out of jail and she becomes this incredible news story, she actually opens a nonprofit. And she is someone who advocates for the voting rights of people, mostly of people of color or disenfranchised. But it's an amazing story. If I would strongly suggest you look it up. It's Crystal Mason. And if you can find that Native Land Pod, she was on there. It's like a conference that they had in person, and she was on there explaining her story, and it's very, very interesting. But standing for yourself is vital in this day, because we so frequently, we don't hesitate to stand up for other people, but we kind of shrink back when it comes to us standing for ourselves. We expect others to stand up for us, and when they don't, we not only do we become angry, we shrink as a spirit. And it's surprising, because it's like any other time it was anybody else, you would be bold as a lion and you would stand up for your friends, you stand up for your family, you stand up for your community, but not for yourself. You will not spend the hours it takes to research XYZ to learn about a loophole, how to get out of jail, when you know you're innocent. Not to mention, I kept running into this story about 10,000 evictions were going on this particular week in this country. Or was it 10 million? I think it maybe had been 10 million evictions going on in this country. And apparently my own case was included in that mix. I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not ashamed of it either. And I was there. Some people who I don't particularly care for were there. And you'll learn about that in the rest of this podcast. But I got through it. I had a bit of trepidation about it because I had never, that's not true. How could I say this? I typically settle. And that's what everybody typically does. They typically settle. You know, how much time do you need before you move out? This and that and the other. And that's what I have done in the past. It didn't necessarily make my condition any better, but I've experienced that. This is in another state, not in New York. But for some reason, in this particular instance, something in me would not let this die. Something in me would not let me just lay down and take it. And I was curious about that something. And I'm strongly, if you're listening to this and it's resonating with you, more than likely you're having one of those moments as well. It is a scary place to be, where everyone else zigs and you zag. It is a scary place to be when everyone else is zigging and you're the only one zagging. And you're sitting there looking stupid like you're some crazy homeless person and you have nothing else to do with your time but to sit there in court and argue foolishness. That's what you look like. But internally, you're learning the law. Why you're learning the law? That is to be determined. Why you're positioning yourself like this? It is to be determined. But I do not take it lightly that I am dealing with professionals who have practiced and done the work over the years. And here I am, cramming for a midterm or a final. And you're literally taking yourself in your own hands by representing yourself. And what's the saying? You know, a lawyer who has himself as a client is a fool. And that's kind of where I feel like it's a very uncomfortable place to be, because you look foolish standing aside people who are professionals and who have done this at least one other time more than yourself. But again, you have to stand up for yourself. You got to stand for yourself. Frequently, you're standing up for other righteous causes. Be one of those righteous causes. You are one of those righteous causes, and you need to stand up for it. You need to stand for it. You need to stand for it. So, learn to have fun standing for yourself. Not just standing up for yourself, stand for yourself. If you're going to be about something, make sure you're about yourself. I'm going to not watch how I'm sitting in this chair, because this chair is squeaking. Hear that? But so frequently, and I notice this about women are notorious for this. We will stand up for everybody else, but we won't stand up for ourselves. We will be vocal about everybody else's position. We will support other people's positions. We will give money and donate money, but to stand strong for ourselves, it takes a whole lot to push a person into that corner to become that. To be bold and courageous enough to advocate for yourself. I'm not a big fan of telling people that everybody should, represent themselves. If you can get good representation, you should make good use of it. But in the event that you cannot, as you will find out when you listen to my story, and sometimes I think the universe is kind of setting you up so that you will come out of your shell and be the courageous person that you were born to be, the better version of yourself. That being the case, treat this as a special opportunity that others don't get or don't take advantage of. You get to study the laws that run your community, your city, your state, your nation. You get that opportunity. And not everyone takes full advantage of it. So you be that person that takes joy in the opportunity. Will you prevail? Only God knows. But if you do the work internally and externally, you will do a lot to make your case that much richer and much stronger. Why is it important to stand for yourself? And I mentioned that in another section, because you're not always going to have the full support of those around you, unfortunately. They won't see what you see. They won't hear what you hear in the spirit. And it's distressing at times, because the old you of 2023 would have rejoiced in having help. There is purposely no help on the level you were on, so that you would you would go up higher, that you would reach up higher on purpose. On purpose. You're being forced to reach up higher and stretch yourself. In that, you're going to have to learn to do things a different way. You're going to have to position yourself a different way. You're literally becoming a different person. You're becoming a different person. And a lot of people are going to laugh at you, because they're going to think you are way above your pay. You are fighting way above your pay grade. In the natural, they would be right. But we are spiritual people having an earthly experience. So let your spirit lead you, but still do the inner and outer work, so that the vision you see becomes the experience that you have. The vision you see becomes the experience you have, provided you've done the internal and external work, that of being courageous, being open to opportunities, being open to intuitive insights, staying calm through meditation and contemplation, and reading spiritual books, reading legal books and legal texts so that you will know how to proceed. This is not going to be laid out for you. You are going to have to search for it like gold. You're going to have to mine for it. It is not going to come like cherries dropped in your lap from a tree. You're going to have to reach for it. But you're going to have fun while you do. So, continue or learn to have fun learning the law and what it means and how it impacts your life. I keep running into these narratives where somebody, once push come to shove, then they discovered the law. They didn't discover the law before that. They thought it was too much for them and they weren't smart enough, or it was too much book learning or reading or whatever it is. But when your feet are to the fire and your life and your legacy and who you stand for or who you truly are is at stake, then you learn the law. I can tell you the number of people who, once they are facing prison sentences, life prison sentences, or very long-standing prison sentences, then they study the law. I'm talking about particularly black people. Because, it ain't sexy. It don't seem like fun. It's very nerdy to sit there reading big old nerdy law books and learning procedure and being able to explain something and all that. Wow. In the event that you find yourself in that situation, take it as a badge of honor that you've been given that opportunity to experience this. It's so funny because when I'm not speaking like this, I am meek and fearful and shy and scared, practically scared of my own shadow. But something like the divine in me starts speaking truth, and like I'm channeling Jesus in a way, But it's the truth. You have to get to a place where you tap into something on the inside of you that tells you what you know you need to do. This is, again, I say this again, this is not for the faint at heart. But if you don't do this, a lot of people are going to die out, especially Christians are going to die out simply because the kind of faith you need is that Israel in the wilderness kind of faith. And those who had it survived, and those who didn't died out. And that's literally like a lot of Christians are going to find themselves like that, because we are doing ourselves a disservice by not teaching God is a big God on the inside of you. All you have is God on the inside of you. You're not going to be able to depend on your pastor. You're not going to be able to depend on your prayer leaders. This is something that has to be in your house all the time. All the time. You're going to have to believe in miracles all the time. You're going to have to be a person who practices the miraculous all the time. You're not going to have a prayer partner. You're not going to have somebody you can touch and agree with. Other than Jesus, nobody. Nobody. And if you're that kind of person where you can't handle that, well, unfortunately, this is going to be your unlucky season. This is going to be the age of unlucky situations for you. You're literally going to have to walk on water. Now, I'm not saying that for you to go out and be bold and not be bold, but walk around in a spirit of pride and acting like you God's gift to the world. But you need to be practicing miracles. You need to be practicing miracles. But you got to do the inner work in terms of faith and the outer work in terms of reading and studying and practicing the law. You know, it's great for you to be in a pre-trial where you can say what your position is, but you're going to have to get up and you're going to have to know those statutes and all those different procedures that make it necessary for you to perform. And see, that's what makes this a fool's errand. Because you have no practice in this. This is what makes it a fool's errand. And you're going to have to still bet on yourself and make an ass of yourself. And the judge may be offended at you because you do not know what you're doing. Even people who have passed the bar, when they come into a judge's court, and they don't know what they're doing, they get their ass handed to them because they don't know what they're doing. And they didn't practice. So I say unto you, you got your hands full. You have got your hands full. Truly, you got your hands full. And you won't get a second chance at, I had the yips, or whatever they call those when you get dumbfounded or spellbound because you're standing in front of a judge. But have fun learning the law because, there's so many things with the law that if you know it, will protect you. I remember a brother, I call him brother, Black Power brother, And he used to talk, and he can rattle off all those different statutes and stuff like that. And he used to talk about, I used to listen to his podcasts. This is back in the day when, 2016, 2017. And he would talk about the law. And he was into that, I can't even think of what they call that now. Those people that talk about not paying taxes and all that other stuff. Well, that's, that's kind of like that's too way out for me, But it is talking about, having to go to court and explain why they don't have to pay taxes and that they're not a citizen of the United States and United States is a corporation and all this stuff, all that, But anyway, within that is a person that studied the law. And because he had an exceptionally good memory, he can rattle off all those statutes. And it's one of the things he used to say, you can say what you think you know about the law. But when you stand on your square in front of a judge, you're going to find out what you really know. When your life is on the line, or when your money is on the line, or when your house is on the line, you're going to find out what you really know. You're going to find out what you really know. So it behooves you to be prepared. And I pray to God that you are prepared going into it. And that brings me to my next point. Okay. Enjoy experiencing both the scary and exhilarating sides of preparing to stand for yourself. And what do I mean by that? Now let me tell you how I got started with this. It's kind of funny. It's funny now, but it wasn't funny at the time. I think I had just walked out of the office of the lady that was assigned to me by the court. It's the civil version, or the housing court version of a public defender. That's what it's equivalent to, okay? And I had just walked out. And this is my second meeting. This is my second time meeting her. And I think I need to go back a little bit, because the first time I met her, she made me uncomfortable. She was pronouncing my name wrong. It was like she was doing it on purpose to make it like I missed my appointment, or I missed my time when she called me, that kind of thing. It was like somebody was doing it on purpose. And usually I'm not. This sounds really paranoid. But it was something about how she was behaving that it was like a supernatural setup. And if I took her help, I was going to be really screwed. I don't know how I knew it, but it was just when I met her, I just knew something was off. And it was this other guy that was there. He was trying, and I think about it now, it's funny, because he kept trying to say, come on, come with me, come with me. And it was like he knew she was my assigned person, but he was trying to get me away from her. And he was like, no, come with me, come with me. And I was like, no, she called my name already. And he's like, no, come with me. And I think about it now, and it's funny because it was just like he knew something. And I know it doesn't make any sense, and it sounds kind of, like I said, it sounds very paranoid, but it was just how if you saw this in a movie, you would immediately know something was up, and the person, the protagonist of the story needed to be or be aware of what was going on. That's how it was. It was like a movie was playing out, and it was just very weird. So I instead of going with the guy, I stayed and waited for the lady, because she was helping somebody else. She made me wait. She told me to wait over in the corner, and she's helping somebody else, and I'm just standing there looking stupid. So finally she does come, and she takes me to the back. And she says to me, I had brought all these papers and everything of, how I thought the case could be. I was trying to give her all the facts and everything. And she wasn't interested in any of that. She wasn't interested in anything I had to say. I was telling her about that I had ERAP, and I had a holdover, and there were some discrepancies and inaccuracies in the case and things like that. And she wasn't interested in any of that. She was going to run her standard boilerplate procedure that one does with a holdover. And they pretty much just, well, this and this, that the landlord wants to get you out, and that's just what you're going to have to do, and da-da-da-da-da. And I remember this specifically. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it at least as long as I need to remember it. She leaned over, and her chin jutted out to me. It just shot out to me. And she says, you don't have any rights. And that's what she said. She literally said to me, "You don't have any rights." Like that. And I went, "Oh, okay." It was just kind of just took me, not that I was agreeing with her, but it just took me by surprise that somebody would say it like that. It wasn't like, in this situation, you have few options. She said it like, "You don't have any rights." That's like literally, and I'm not exaggerating. She would probably deny it, but I'm telling you, that's what I saw. I don't know if that was in the spirit or out of the spirit, but that's what I saw. She says, "You don't have any rights," like that. And I kept saying, well, later on, I'll say, "Well, do you want this paper?" I showed her the paper I had was my answer. I was showing her this stuff, right? And she looked at it like it was a bag of dog doo-doo. It's like she didn't want to touch it. I said, "Well, do you want me to forward it to you, or you want me to, can you make copies of it?" "Oh, we don't have those kind of facilities here," like that. And so I said, "Well, you do want me to bring it to the next appointment?" "Yeah, you can bring it to the next appointment." I said, "Okay, I'll bring it to the next appointment." I'm still trying to work with what I got. Not that I had a whole lot in this situation with this person, but I'm like, I'm not getting the warm and fuzzies. I'm not feeling good about what was going to happen. And I'm thinking, well, maybe that's just a part of, you're going through a holdover eviction. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Okay? Oy vey. And so we make an appointment, and I think it was maybe 2.5 weeks, maybe, or 3 weeks. Maybe as much as 3 weeks. I think it was more like 2.5 weeks. And we made an appointment. I was supposed to show up, and we would talk about the case and what we're going to do next. And she's supposed to be going on vacation and all this other stuff and blah, blah, blah. And not that I have anything against anybody going on vacation. It was like, okay. And she was trying to fit me in. And I appreciated that she would even take the time in her schedule to put me in before vacation. Fine. But when I came back on the day when I was scheduled, it was a hot day, so I came early so that I could sit in the lobby because I knew the lobby would be air conditioned. So I sat there for an hour. And I knew I was going to be waiting a while because obviously I was quite early. So the receptionist said, "Miss Bond is in, Miss Bond is here." And she said, she tells the receptionist to tell me that she'd be down in 10 minutes. 10 minutes pass. Another 20 minutes pass. And it's almost, instead of it being for 2 o'clock, now it's after 2. And I kept noticing people are moving through the lobby. Workers in the lobby are moving weird. And maybe that's just me and the person who needs to be a screenwriter in me, because I like movies that have like a little mystery and intrigue in them. So I'm always the one that can figure these things out because I can write really good scenes like that. So when I see stuff like that in my mind, I'm playing it out like it's part of a movie. It's kind of like, and I said this before, where Stephen King says that he'll be in totally mundane situation like going to the grocery store, and he'll think about how would the people in the grocery store react if they saw a gigantic grasshopper stuck to the window pane of the grocery store. Would they flip out like that? And like you play the scenario out in your head, and it's not only is it interesting, it's scary, and it's a good way to write stories. So when I see stuff in real life, I imagine how would that play out if you were doing a screenplay. Now, have I ever submitted a screenplay? Not at all. But I'm just saying, I just played out in my mind. So when I see certain things, I see people moving around, and they're moving in a weird, like a zombie-like fashion. I'm going, what is going on with these people? And it wasn't just one person, it was several. And they were all black people or other people of color. It was just weird. I know it just sounds crazy, but it was just weird. And I kept thinking, okay. And so, again, I'd waited 10 minutes, then another 20 minutes went by, and she still hadn't come down. So I walk over to the receptionist, and I ask, can you call Miss So-and-so? And so she calls the lady, and she said she'd be right down. I said, okay. So when she comes to the door, she pretends like she can't see me and she doesn't recognize me. And she says my name, Miss So-and-so, Miss So-and-so. And it's like she's hoping if I'm not paying attention, I'll miss her calling me. It's like she's, again, it's like she did this before, where it's like she's trying to get me to miss her so I can say, well, I was here, where were you? And she says, well, I called your name, but you didn't answer, Miss So-and-so. And so when I heard my name called, I immediately stood up and I said, I'm here, like that, And she's like, Miss So-and-so, Miss So-and-so. And I said, I'm here, like that. And she goes, oh, Miss So-and-so, I'm so sorry. I forgot all about you. I forgot all about you. She kept saying, trying to be all apologetic. And I'm going, if it were any other person, and if I hadn't had this weird feeling about this person, I would be like, oh, no worries. Don't worry about it. It happens. But before I met with her, it was like the universe was trying to tell me something. I kept seeing her in my mind's eye and her saying, you don't have any rights. 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 And it's like I kept seeing this little video looping in my head, right? So when I met with her, I was already on high alert. Now, I didn't say a word when she says, oh, Miss So-and-so, I forgot all about you. I forgot all about you. And so I went, And so we get on the elevator, and these other people get on the elevator with us. And because I had seen all that in my mind's eye days before, I refused. I said, she doesn't have to do anything. I'm already prepared to drop her as my representation, as my legal representation. I'm already ready. But I'm going to the meeting because I said I was going to go, but I'm going in with almost like a hidden agenda because I didn't like the vibes I was feeling. I'm not a vibe person necessarily, but her vibes were so off the chart, I couldn't ignore it. Because some people, they just, have a quirky personality or whatever, but I am getting like weird chills. Like, like you get when you going down a dark alley or something. It was like that. Like getting just this weird, queasy, quirky feeling like something ain't right, something ain't right, something ain't right, something ain't right. And your body is like communicating to you like, get the H out of here. That's how I felt with this person. Now, mind you, the screenwriter person on the inside of me, that's hilarious to me. In real life, it's like very unsettling, but I can see the humor in it because I can see the art of it. If you were looking at it in terms of a movie, again, But so when I met with her, and we finally get in the office, and she walks in, and she says, stands at the door, she goes, Miss So-and-so, did you bring some legal papers for me? I said, no. said, no, I didn't bring any legal papers. And then I think I brought something. I did bring some legal papers, but I didn't bring the answer with all the details for the case in it. And she starts rattling off stuff from her notes, allegedly from her notes. And she's quoting information from somebody that's not me. And then I'm like, this is not looking, I'm thinking to myself, this is not looking good. This is not feeling good. And I could see myself getting up and leaving. I hate when I get those visions of myself doing the thing I'm trying to avoid doing. And I literally see myself getting up and say, stop, let's just stop this right now. We're not doing this. Like, you're fired. You're fired. I don't need your help. I don't want your help. Just butt out of it. So, and I'm telling you all this as a prelude to the point I'm trying to make. So, she said something, I forget what it was, and when she said it, I just went ape. I was so angry. My voice, when I get really angry, my voice gets high pitched because I'm trying to control my anger. So what I do, my voice starts to squeak and I sound like a little kid. And my voice gets high pitched. and so so I say to her, this is too hard for you. And you're well within your right, Miss So-and-so, if you don't want me, if you want to fire me to death. I know that. And I'm firing you. You're not going to have, this is too hard for you. I got to explain. There were certain things like she didn't understand what co-living meant or shared spaces like rooms, which is not a new concept. They've always had boarding houses before with just where you rent a room, you know. And she's like, she didn't understand that concept. When she said that, I was like, okay, you're really off the case because that is too stupid for words. It's either you're playing stupid or you're that stupid. I suspect she's playing stupid because she really didn't want to help or exert herself so much that it would exceed her ability to help. She had a set way of doing things, and I needed something more from her, and that just was not in the parameters of what she does. And I could sense that it wasn't one of those things where she was going to go out of her way for me. And that's okay, because I understand that with housing cases and things like that, even legal aid in general, they don't want to do a lot of complicated stuff, investing a lot of hours in research and writing and doing all this other stuff for cases that aren't going to bring the agency or firm that they work for a lot of money. I get it. So seeing that that's the case, she had no business being on assigned to me, because I knew I was expecting something more, and there was something she couldn't give me. And so I'm totally, like I said, I was totally okay with that. But the point that we finally get to is when I left her office. And see, here's the thing, I had signed a retainer agreement with her. So technically, she's still my attorney. She's still my attorney. Now, mind you, she would show, like I say later on in this audio, she showed up at the trial, or at the pre-trial rather, even though I told her I don't want to near it. But I had asked as I'm leaving, do I need to sign anything? She says, oh no, which is true. You do need to sign something because that person needs to be released from supporting you. If you sign a retainer agreement, that's a contract stating that they're representing you. To turn around and represent yourself is saying something, because you already were assigned somebody by the courts. And that's a whole different ball of wax. I'm not even going to get into it. But the point was, as I'm leaving the office, I am inside. On the outside, I'm calm, I'm polite. I leave out back into the heat of the day. And I am pissed the hell off. I am so mad. I am angry. Angry, but you can't tell. No, that's not true. You could tell, because I started muttering to myself as I'm going down the street trying to catch the bus. Because it was a long bus ride. And I'm going, I don't believe, you say, I make me come out here and she ain't even prepared. I don't believe this mess. And just prattling. I'm just prattling. But I'm angry. But on the inside of me, this is the weirdest thing. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. On the inside, the Spirit of God on the inside of me is saying, it will be fun. No, it will be fun. And I'm thinking, I am screwed. This case is so complicated because there's all these little ins and outs and all the... Let me go back. I could see victory in the case, but it would take a lot to get there. Again, I'll say, I could see victory in the case, whereas other people will say it's a done deal. You have no options. And as that lady with the jutted chin said to me, I have no rights, that kind of thing. Because once again, you can't use squatters' rights as an option anymore, because squatters' rights are systematically being removed from, from the books throughout the country, where there was something that could be used as a defense for people. They are systematically being taken out, being written out as an option. And people are literally being arrested for trespassing. Okay? So, and in this case, it's really important because the way they worded, excuse me, all of a sudden now my throat's getting all goopy. All of a sudden now, the way my case, the case that's against me is written up, and I'm living in a house with shared spaces where everybody rents a room. The way they've written it up, if they were to evict me, they will evict everybody else in the apartment as well on that day. Nobody take that into account. Not the lady with the jutted chin or anybody else for that matter. All they saw was holdover, eviction, and they're going to move on. But see, you got to get down into the meat and the potatoes of the situation to know that. But because the case is not worth anything monetarily except some little modest legal fees and attorney fees, that's just the way it is. So I'm walking down the street and I am pissed. I am pissed. My voice is high pitched. I'm crossing the street and I'm like, damn it. And it's like, why are you, I'm thinking to myself, this is me, my mental human mind thinking, Why are you surprised? You knew who this person was when she revealed herself the first time you met her. Why are you surprised? But it still made me angry because one, I had to come out there, and two, my second thought was, okay, now that I'm not going to be able to get representation immediately because the case is coming up in like maybe a week or so. Okay, it was like maybe a week and 2 days or something weird like that. So I am like really put out. I'm like, what am I going to do? And even before I met with her, I was having a hard time getting representation, or even people to help me with strategy. Nobody wanted to help me with strategy. I was on my own from day one. And so when I say to you, you're on your own, there's going to be a lot of instances where the Spirit of God, the divine on the inside of you, is going to say, move forward, and everybody else is retreating in fear because they don't want to do it and they wouldn't do it. And you're going to be out on your own doing something that the Spirit of God is telling you to do, and everybody else is saying, if I were you, I wouldn't do that. And that's a really uncomfortable place to be. If you don't have a really strong relationship with God, you go with what you know. I ain't mad at you. If you don't have a strong relationship with God, you have a decent relationship with God, that's fine. But when it comes out to some things where you're really out on a limb, but you don't know what your God is really capable of, and the Spirit of God on the inside of you is capable of, then go with what you know. Like I said, I ain't mad at you. But for me that day, I was going to have to sit down. I was going to have to break this thing down. And it was going to take time. It was going to take hours of time to put this together. Put this together. And I don't believe this. I'm exasperated. I'm on the bus. And I'm like, I do not believe this. But I'm not devastated. Something on the inside of me is rising up and going, this will be fun. This will be fun. I'm literally, and I kid you not, my flesh, the outside of me was like, inside of me was like, this will be fun. This will be fun. So enjoy experiencing both the scary and exhilarating sides of preparing to stand for yourself. That's the point I'm trying to make. And this is a message that's not for everybody, because a lot of you're not in that place where you can stand flat-footed and stand up for yourself. Too many of you need to have other people stand with you for you to be bold and courageous. But I get it. Maybe that's how you've always done business, and I get it. Then there are others of you who you will do it, but you don't want to do the inner work and the outer work to be prepared for it. Therefore, you do what you know from past experiences. And there's going to be, the world is changing in such a way that nothing in your past will help you for where you're going. Other than that, your name is still the name that you got at birth. And maybe even that'll change. But it's going to be so different that nothing from your past is going to help, very little from your past. I don't want to say that, because there's things from my past I can say help me get ready for this. But before I got down to the nitty-gritty of this, there were times I sat in my chair and cried at the prospect of having to sit before a judge and explain my position and why I'm the position I'm taking, regardless of the outcome. Because the outcome, the stakes are high. The stakes are high. The judge is making the case that the stakes are high. And, the petitioner, i.e. the landlord, could prevail against me. And I said, I understand that. And I'm still willing to take the claim I'm taking. And on the one hand, I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? You could just do what you normally do. Just step down, step away, walk away. But it's something in me was just like, not this time. Not this time. Nope. Besides, it'll be fun. And I'm going, what is this? Because this whole year, from the year before, I started to notice the divine on the inside of me doing something that was unlike anything I'd ever experienced in my life. And it's disturbing to me because it makes me sound like one of those New Agers. The way I'm thinking looks and sounds like New Age stuff. And I don't like that. However, the New Agers are the only ones explaining it in a way that makes sense. I apologize for clearing my throat. It's just all of a sudden I got all this phlegm because I had 2 ice cream sandwiches rather. But understand, nothing is going to make sense moving forward. There is an opportunity for great things to happen, blessings to happen, but it is not without controversy. It is not without controversy. If you don't like controversy and you want everything neat, nice, and in a bow, and everybody supporting you from the crib on up, then you're not going to like where this earth is going. Because for those who are faint at heart, you're going to have some heart attacks. Because it's going to scare the living crap out of you. But if you're bold as a lion, and you can muster up the courage on the inside of you to become as bold as a lion, oh yeah, this place is going to be the blessed place for you. I'm going to pour some water, so you're going to hear water pouring in the background. So, and that leads me to finally say, don't be surprised by what the divine has for you. The divine on the inside of you has for you, provided you're willing to cooperate with it. It's scary, it's exhilarating, but do your very best to cooperate. That's all you got. That's all you got. And that brings me to my next point. Continue to avoid worrying about what if. If I do this, well, this could happen. Or do that and that can happen. Do this. You've got to have zero, very narrow focus. A very, very narrow focus. And it's almost supernatural, the kind of focus that you have to have, because it's so easy for fear to creep in. Sometimes you wake up with fear on you, in you, and it's almost like you're bound up with fear on the inside, like somebody, how you ever packed a garbage bag, or in the UK they say bin liner. but we say garbage bag here in the United States. But you know how you ever pack a garbage bag so tight and pack it down so that you can get more in it? That's how sometimes fear feels on the inside, like you've been just packed with stacks and stacks and stacks of fear on the inside of you. And you have to keep your spirit open. Your soul has to be open in a way that you can receive direction. Because sometimes the direction doesn't come beforehand. It comes in real time as you're doing whatever it is you're doing and studying, or you're talking to somebody and they'll say something that triggers a new download of information, and you have to have this zero focus, just zero in on it, just hone in on your focus. And the little things like thinking that you're going to be late. I'll give you an example. I was on the way to the court, and for some reason, and I cannot explain to you why I did this, because I kept saying, okay, well, if I take this bus, this might happen. If I take that bus, it shouldn't matter that I might get there at a different time. And I didn't really I wanted to take the bus that was closer. But for some reason, I saw this lady. I don't know, and I don't know what it was about her. And she was like way ahead of me. And I saw her, and something about me made me know I needed to follow her. And I can't tell you why, but I just knew I needed to follow her instead of going the other direction. Because I literally had decided I was going to go in the other direction, and something made me turn around and follow that lady instead. And so I followed there, and the whole time I'm on the bus, and the bus is stopped. They got construction going on, and they got the flaggers on the street, and they're only one lane of traffic. And I'm thinking, okay, it feels like it's probably about 10 o'clock. So basically, I'm supposed to be there at 10 o'clock. And I'm thinking, okay, I think I'm late. And I said to myself, Coach Laverne, whatever happens, you can handle it. No matter what gets thrown at you today, you can handle it. Even if the landlord gets a default judgment, you'll know what to do. You can handle it. Do you know, after I got off the bus, and I'm thinking I'm probably late, I look at the time, because I purposed in my heart I wasn't going to keep staring, pulling my phone out, looking at the time, putting it back in my pocket, and getting all stressed out because of the time, being on the bus, and the bus is stopping, and this and that and the other. I determined I was not going to allow myself to get stressed out about what time it was. And I'm riding on public transportation. So I said, well, it feels like 9:30. It feels like 9:45. It feels like 9:52. It feels like 9:58. And I told myself, even if I arrive late and I miss my appointment, I will be able to make the best of a bad situation. That's how confident I was. And this wasn't really positive thinking. It was that I know I had done the inner work I needed to get through that situation. Now, tomorrow may be another day, but that day I knew what I needed to do, and I made sure I did it. I got off the bus, and for the first time in an hour, I looked at what the time was. And do you know, it was slightly before 9:30. It was slightly before 9:30. They were still letting people in through that long line. I missed the long line, thank goodness, because I hate that long line. But there's nothing you can do about it. It is what it is. It's a city with 8 million people in it. What are you going to do? So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is you have to know, you have to have a God-like type of faith where you know whatever comes up, you can handle it. This is not, how can I say this, a situation where you're going to have to look outside of yourself. The resources that you need to succeed in that situation are on the inside of you. All you need to do is draw from them. Now, mind you, when you're not in court, you're still gathering information. You're packing your soul with whatever you think it needs to perform. But in that moment when you need to do your best, everything that you did, all the inner work, you did all the external work, and all you have to do is just perform. So stop worrying about what could happen if this, do this, what could happen if you do that. Just do the inner work, do the outer work. The inner work is staying confident, staying open, staying brave and courageous, and being absolutely brutal towards fear, studying to know what to do and how to proceed when it comes to your case, everything. Now, mind you, if you need to get legal support and legal assistance, by all means do that. But there's going to be times when you won't have that as an option. And if that is the case, then you have to proceed and use your own will as your guidance system. It is a foolish errand to represent yourself. But when it has to be done, you better know what to do. And even if you have someone else representing you, you better know why they're doing and saying what they're saying. Because a lot of times there are certain people will tell you to do or take a certain position legally, and they wouldn't take that position if it were them. And even if they fail, understand this, they will still be able to sleep good at night while you still struggling because of that legal situation. If you're somebody in a criminal case and they tell you to take a plea and you're innocent as all get out, they're going to still sleep good. You're the one that has to know how this is going to work out. You're the one that really has to study. Because you got to get up to speed. This person been to law school, took the LSAT, went to law school, passed the bar, all of that. And you've got to cram to get up to speed, to understand why they're taking the position they're taking. If you're going to go, this is my philosophy, if you're going to go down, you better know damn sure why you're going down. You better make damn sure that the position you're taking is something you can live with. It's not a place for hoping and a praying. You better make damn sure you know exactly what you're doing and why. That's why, in my situation, the legal representation that I had to put her to the curb, because it was like I couldn't follow that. I could not, in all good conscience, follow her way of thinking and performing. It made me very uncomfortable. I couldn't sit still in the chair. And I'm a person that's very calm, and I can sit through most of anything. But I was literally sitting before this person, and I could not sit calm. And I didn't like that feeling. And I said, I don't know what's wrong with this lady, but she is not representing me. So again, Don't worry. Don't get into a spirit of worry. But you go into the situation with your eyes open, so you know why you're doing what you're doing and for what cause. Because sometimes you may not get a second chance at it. So you got to be ready on the inside and ready on the outside. So enjoy watching those who don't favor your righteous cause and who pretend to be for you but are not. When you're going through it, you're going to know who your enemies are, because they're going to be so happy to see you fail. In fact, it's going to be, you're going to have an audience of people watching you go through it. They want to see you struggling. They want to see you suffering, because it does something for them internally to see you fail. But on the flip side of that, when you succeed, they're not going to be very happy. And they're going to try to stay and remain as stoic as possible and not look like they notice that you're succeeding. But they're going to be, inside they're going to be pissed. But take it in stride. It's par for the course. It's par for the course. If I were you, I just would rejoice. And again, I say rejoice, because they don't have a heaven or hell to put you in. They're sitting there being miserable one way or another. Whether you succeed or fail, they're going to be miserable. And they shouldn't be in your inner circle anyway. And if they are, you might rethink your choice of friends and associates. And that brings me to my next point. Refuse the help of pretenders, or those who feign support for your cause. In other words, people who pretend to be helping, but they're hindering or trying to look to the public like they're helping you. Let me give you an example. Like I said, I'm going through this legal situation, and I have two people who are legal aid. I'm not a fan of legal aid, so obviously I have a not so unconscious bias toward them or that particular profession. So, because I think that basically you get what you pay for. If you paid nothing for it, you're not going to get very much out of the deal. And I've gotten some really bad advice in the past from legal aid people. And I've even seen people almost lose their house or apartment or their life savings because of legal aid. So I'm not a big fan of legal aid. I'm not saying that you should go out on your own like Coach Laverne, but I am saying buyer beware. May the buyer beware. Even if you ain't paying for nothing, you paying for it in your time and your energy. So yeah, I was assigned a court-appointed legal aid representative. And when I say she was the worst, she is the worst person ever. And like I said, I'm not a fan of legal aid. But to say somebody is the worst person in legal aid is saying a lot. So I went to court on Thursday, and she's there. Like, she's supposed to be representing me. She's, pretending to be there, but just hanging around, but not really there, because she knows I'm not going to let her participate in my case. But she's all up in it, talking to people and, and I have not a general feeling that she may be interfering. So she's just prancing around like she's doing something. She ain't doing nothing. She's just standing there, not even looking pretty, because she ain't pretty. She's old and needs to retire is what she needs to do. And I'm not trying to be ageist, but that's one of the few people she needs to retire. She just needs to retire, stop faking it, bluffing through it, just stop. She just needs to stop. And if I find out she's messing with my case, I'm going to make sure people run from her if they know they're getting her. I mean, she's that bad. She's that bad. So the point I'm trying to make is this. I'm not trying to say that you should hate certain people who are legal aid, because there are some people who, at least they give you some good advice, but as a general rule, don't put your whole weight and faith in them. Do a lot of the legwork yourself. And again, like Crystal Mason, she had to find her own way and figure out how to get herself out of jail based on her own research, because her own attorney didn't do it. She had to figure out how she was going to get out on a bond or on a bail. She would have still been in jail right now if it wasn't for her own research and ingenuity. So refuse the help of people who ain't really help. Because my thing is, I don't like help that ain't help. I would rather you say flat out, you can't help me, versus somebody pretending to help me, which I find that very offensive in general. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. So that's all I have for you today. I'm your host, Coach Laverne. That's Laverne without the E on the end for Action Taken. Our next broadcast will be on Friday, the August 25th. Jesus loves us, died for us, and gave us his permission to not only prosper, but to be supernatural. So see you soon.